Hello, singing friends. Welcome back to my channel. It's Miki here, your friendly neighborhood singing coach. Today I'm going to be doing a reaction request from my friend and viewer Laura Sassani, who asked me to look at the Ofra Haza song Galbi, which means my heart in Arabic. This song was recorded in 1986 and then re-recorded in 88, but we'll be looking at the original version, and it was one of Ofra's biggest hits. So let's jump right in and check it out.
These are the musical rhythms I grew up with in my parents' house. Their origins are in the East. They moved to Israel from Yemen. This next song is really a synthesis of the musical cultures of East and West. I am a product of that marriage.
Wow, so this is such a cute introduction. She has such a thick accent when she speaks. It's so funny because that accent kind of falls away when she sings. It's also really cute because the background music is so 80s, you know? And this is obviously from like a VHS tape from the 80s. So just like everything about it screams that decade. It's really cute. It's almost like a little time capsule, and her hair and everything also is like very modish from that time. All right, let's check out the song. I'm just gonna pause it there for a moment so I don't get flagged. So this video is kind of amazing. So even from like the moment that it starts, you have those belly dancers, but it's almost like this combination between like aerobics and belly dancing, right? They're doing those like very jerky motions, and it looks like this very like westernized version of belly dancing. And then there's some like ballet dancers that come in, and it seems like a little bit modern as well. It's just like this amalgam of all these different dance styles. And then she comes out and she's wearing a very 80s outfit with the shoulder pads. It almost looks like she's wearing like a Halloween costume of like Nefertiti or something, you know, and she's got those like really big earrings. And then it cuts to the club dancers, and it looks like the whole thing is just like very 80s. And it is kind of this like funny mixture of East and West, you know, and like all kind of like filtered through a very, very 80s lens, you know. Like over the top. But I think it's really cute. And I also just, you know, from a singing standpoint, appreciate how when she sings in Arabic, she uses a lot more of that like melismatic, like silulim, you know, like it's much more ornamented than when she sings in other languages. And so I guess that is more part of that Arabic culture, you know, that when you hear like a call to prayer or something, it's like so complicated, and they have all those like really, really interesting intricate ways of playing around with the melody and adding in these like neighboring notes and passing tones and things. It's much more complex than like a purely Western pop style of singing. So I think it's really beautiful and just really interesting how when she sings in that language, she sings in like this really ornamented style. the way she's singing in these like almost improvised lines without words here, you know, where she's just kind of like singing melodies. I think it's really beautiful. Obviously, this song is really held back by the production. There is like a lot of just that like cheesy Casio keyboard drum sounds and things. So it's a little bit hard to separate her beautiful voice and the composition of the melody from the track itself. But she's, if anybody could pull this off, it's her. I mean, if anybody could wear that costume and look stunning and amazing, it's her. And if anybody could make this song, carry it and separate it away from the restrictions and the limitations of the time period in which it was produced, it's her. And I could see this being in like a cult movie, you know, like there's something really interesting and entertaining about the imagery, but obviously it does really suffer from being produced in the 80s and having that like overly dramatic, overwrought kind of cheesiness to it. Just seeing the juxtaposition of like people break dancing and then like this more traditional looking Arab man wearing like a keffiyeh with a beard, you know, it's like very like jarring and nonsensical. So it makes it a little bit funny and like not in a like we're laughing along with it way. It's a little bit cheesy and silly, but I think obviously she sounds really beautiful and it's a product of the time. There's no way that you can kind of like separate it from the time in which it was produced. That riff that she's singing there sounds familiar. Like it sounds like it was in another song as well. You know, that that little riff that she's singing, I've heard in another song of hers. So it's interesting that she's kind of reused that. A lot of artists do that where they'll, instead of improvising constantly, they'll have riffs that they fall back on that they've practiced that they really like, and then they'll improvise around those little like Lego bricks, you know? They use those as kind of like a jumping off point to build longer riffs and things. Yeah, I'm really enjoying the way that she's singing, and my main takeaway so far is just how much the language that she's singing in informs the style of singing, you know? And it's just really interesting to me that it seems like when she's singing in Arabic, it lends itself to a more ornamented style with more of those melismas and silulim. For sure, you know, I enjoyed it. It was definitely very entertaining and everybody looked like they were having a really good time in the video. I wonder though about the casting, you know, like it seems like the dancers were from a Western discipline, you know, like I wonder if it was like Western people that were cast as like Eastern dancers, because even though there were those like belly dancing elements and there was that man who was more traditionally dressed, it seemed like the majority of the stuff that they were doing was like ballet influenced or like modern influenced, or club dancing and break dancing, things like that. So I'd be curious about the casting. But I thought it was very entertaining, definitely very 80s and over the top, but super fun. And of course, Ofra always looks beautiful and sounds amazing. And I think it's really interesting that she could sing in so many different languages, and that each of those languages seems to have some innate qualities that get translated into the way that she composes her melodies. So for me, when she sings in Arabic, it seems like she sings in a much more ornamented style. And maybe that's something about the language that's innate to the sounds that causes her to sing in a more complex and intricate way. So definitely interesting to see how the cultures influence the style of singing. So I hope that you enjoyed my reaction, Loris. Thank you for the recommendation, and I'll see you guys here next time. Until then, happy listening and of course, happy singing.